Welcome back. Well, Twitter has been ordered to give in to Elon Musk's request for data on the fake accounts or so-called bots. A Delaware judge saying that Musk's demand for trillions of Twitter data is, quote, absurdly large, but ordered the company to turn over some of the data regardless. The ruling coming days after a whistleblower complaint against Twitter by its former security chief. Joining me right now is Competitive Enterprise Institute Director of Center for Technology and Innovation, Jessica Melugin. Jessica, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. What's your reaction to all of this? Did the whistleblower impact Musk's case against Twitter?
Yeah, I think we've taken the kicking the tires of Twitter up a notch here. The whistleblower had some complaints about Twitter that overlapped with the charges that Elon's making, and then some new complaints, too, about some internal security problems and a lack of encryption, things like this. So I think that sort of bolstered Elon's case to say, listen, I thought I was buying one thing and it turns out that really isn't what's here. And I think that that's what he's asking the court to say. Like, has there been enough difference between what I was told and what appears to be the truth to justify halting this deal?
Well, I mean, we don't know who to trust at this point. You know, you got Mark Zuckerberg over there saying that, yeah, we censored the Hunter Biden laptop story because the FBI told us to. You've got Meta and Twitter deleting inauthentic accounts. They claim they're inauthentic that spread pro-U.S. messages to audience in the Middle East and Asia, including posts about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Facebook telling the Washington Post it's the first time they've removed foreign-focused accounts presenting pro-U.S. messaging. Jessica, what's going on here with social media?
What's going on with social media is that it's very complicated and it's very complex to overlap this technology with sort of our core American values, right? We know that we're for free speech in this country. How does that work when it's public entities pressuring private platforms, right? Things get tricky, things get complicated. When the White House pressures a certain kind of content moderation for COVID information, you know, we instinctively know that that is icky, and that's not something that should be happening. The government shouldn't be pushing people around with what kind of speech can be carried on their own private property. When it happens on the international stage, and this seems to be, we don't know for sure, perhaps U.S. military propaganda, a pro-Western message that's being delivered out in the Middle East and Russian-speaking Central Asia, maybe we as a country feel different about that. Maybe we want our interest broadcast like that. We don't know the answers to all of these questions yet, but what we have to remember is social media is really powerful, but it's also relatively new, and we're kind of feeling our way through these issues. That's going to be messy for a while, like most technologies are at the beginning.
I mean, you would think that these companies would be independent, but clearly they're not. The FBI picks up the phone and says, you know, censor a story about Hunter Biden because there's also Russia disinformation, and they do just that. Meanwhile, the story was true. The New York Post reported all accurate findings of that laptop, that Hunter Biden had taken in all of this money, tens of millions of dollars from Chinese companies, right before the election. The influence peddling was censored.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping is, and Mark Zuckerberg, if you listen to that podcast, did say, you know, Joe Rogan asked him straight out, do you regret having demoted that story? You know, Twitter, of course, banned the links. Facebook just wouldn't let it be promoted as heavily while they were checking into its validity. It's a little different, but, you know, the thrust is the same. But when Joe Rogan asked Zuckerberg, do you regret that decision? He was quick to say that he did. So what I'm hoping is that we're learning as we go, and these platforms are more inclined to let more speech flow around. And the bottom line is, if you're going to trust Americans to elect their own leaders, and if you believe that it's a God-given right to elect your own leaders, you're going to have to trust people more to sort through for themselves what's true and what's not.
Yeah, well, they definitely put their users at a disadvantage by doing that. Jessica, it's great to get your take on all of this. Thanks very much.
Thank you.